What if we could learn from outstanding leaders in business, sports, and education from some of the best voices in corporate America? Lighting the Path is a series of interviews with industry leaders whose stories highlight strategies that build purpose-driven cultures, engage and retain top talent, develop drivers that create high-performance teams, and connect people to the vision of your company. Join us to hear from game-changing, talented leaders whose paths make a difference at work and at home.
I want to welcome everybody today to our show, and I will tell you, I'm going to suggest you just sit back, get your favorite beverage of choice, and get ready to be energized. Because I invited somebody to spend time together, who I've just been amazed at watching his ability to ignite people, and not just their mind, but ignite their hearts. And that's Larry Long Jr. Larry is actually the president of the National Speakers Association Carolinas chapter. Is how he and I crossed paths. But he's also a prolific speaker and teacher and trainer in this field of sales. A top award-winning producer, sales producer in the area of software. Has been recognized by Salesforce, the great worldwide global CRM system, as like their number one. I guess we call it salesperson or provider, the resource. Knows it better than anyone. And I invited him today to talk to us about growing business and increasing productivity of our people, especially from a sales or business growth standpoint. So Larry, welcome.
Mike, happy to be here. And just to set the record straight, Salesforce has recognized me 4 years as a top sales influencer.
That's what
I'm in the software sales community, really serving sales professionals, sales leaders, and helping them to grow both personally first and then professionally.
Yeah,
happy to be here.
Yeah, I love this thing about it, especially grow personally, because what happens a lot of times we think in terms of I got to be better from a technique standpoint, but a lot of it has to do with our mindset, doesn't it, Larry? As far as whenever we're trying to drive for performance, drive ourselves forward. And I will tell you, I want to dive deep into something real quick instead of saving it to the end.
Yes, sir.
You wrote a book. Matter of fact, if the people look over your left shoulder, excuse me, it's your right shoulder. It's my left shoulder, but thank you. Bring it up there. There you go. It's a book called Jolt. And when I saw that, it exploded for me, because in today's time of social unrest, economic questioning or whatever, you know what we need right now, right? We need a jolt. We need something to jolt us to move forward so that we can do things such as move the ball. I just put mine in here a little bit here. So, but tell us briefly about the concept behind the book and where it came from.
Yeah, so Jolt, some people say jump on life today. I almost called it unstuck. And I was at a point in my life where I was a little bit stuck in a rut. And the book was really a manual for me. Back in the early stages of the pandemic, it was actually April 22nd of 2020. I started the midday motivational minute. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern, I go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and I just share a motivational message, different topics. Well, essentially, I had a book consultant say, you've got the chapters of a book, and this could really support people. I said, well, I don't write very well. And she said, I can help you. And that was the genesis of the book. I picked my top 7 chapters. Chapter number 1, what story are you telling yourself and believing? Chapter number 2, I have a baseball background. Strikeouts, they're a part of life. So it just goes on and on, just sharing stories, inspiration, motivation, but most importantly, some opportunities for transformation to up level.
Yeah, but I got to ask you a question. It's burning desire on my part or whatever. 4-year D1 baseball player at University of Maryland. Did you have a pink bat when you were playing baseball in college? I got to know for sure.
I'm colorblind, Mike. I didn't realize this was pink. I thought it was red, like my University of Maryland colors. But no, I was not fortunate enough to rock the pink bat. It's funny, my NSA Carolinas colleagues, as I moved in as the president of NSA Carolinas, they blessed me with a blue bat to go along with my pink bat.
There you go. There you go. And so it makes sense then. But if you look at it, and I like this, the symbolism that comes with a baseball bat. Our job as leaders, a lot of times we feel like what we got to do is we got to knock the ball out of the park. Well, you have a unique perspective where you're working with sales leaders, helping them to increase the productivity of their team. Today, 2024, what are they wrestling with the most? What are the issues that the leaders are really trying to get their arms around?
How do you motivate your people? How do you inspire your people? And a lot of times it comes down to people. It's the word people. People are people. People want to feel like you know them, like you like them, like you trust them, that you believe in them. And what I found is the leaders that are all about the numbers. What's your pipeline? What are the deals that you have? And they lose that people aspect. I think they call it B2B. Some people might say, Larry, yeah, that's business to business. Well, the business we're in is B2B, belly to belly. Mike, I want to get to know you. I want to know that, hey, this is what you got planned for Thanksgiving coming up. Hey, I need to know your background, that you're a Nichols State Colonel Toulouse. Show me that you know me, or else I'm not going to run through a wall for you. So that's a challenge. Mental health. With all the stuff that's going on and we're surrounded by, how do you make sure that your people are of sound MBS, mind, body, soul, and spirit, so they can show up each and every day at their best? And that's where it comes down to, how well do you know your people? Do you actually, I call it my give a damn, pardon my French, the give a damn factor. Do you give a damn about me? And we've all worked for leaders that we know they don't care about me. I've had coaches that couldn't tell you anything about me. And that comes from the questions. In sales, we know that successful sales professionals ask good questions, tough questions. Well, what are we doing with our people?
Yeah.
We get to know them.
Yeah, so it's wild in sales. The sales leaders, if they would treat their teams as well, if not better, than they treat their customers, well, isn't that a culture? The culture shaping type. And again, fortunately, I think most do, at least most attempt to do. But they run into this thing of, I call it the blurriness of busyness. I was talking to some clients about this recently. If you look at their day's just packed, one thing after another. That's reality. And unfortunately, we can't really slow time down. But if we craft some time and we craft some small spaces, not big spaces, but little spaces, we can do a whole lot, can't we?
Well, it comes down to intentionality. And the title of my book is Jolt, Get Zapped Into Intentionality, Rediscover and Believe in Your Inner Greatness. So we all know that where we put our focus is generally where we see results. And that you talked about the busyness. Well, when was the last time you did an audit of your schedule to look at why are you in back-to-back meetings? Is it serving your vision? Is it serving your mission? Is it serving your people and your organization? Or is it, I just do it because that's the way it's always been done? I just do it because that's the expectation. Understood, but in my Steve Harvey Family Feud voice, survey says, that's one of the worst answers. I just do it because it's the way that it's always been done. No, it's time. They say if it isn't broke, don't break it. I say if it ain't broke, shake it, break it, flip it upside down, and let's look for how we can improve on the margin, especially for our leaders. It starts with our leaders at the very top, and it trickles down to our people.
Yeah. So when you say this, people have been on my show before, they listen to this. Now, one of my favorite quotes is when you're looking at your activity, is it tension relieving or is it goal achieving? Okay. See, we fill our day up with tension relieving stuff. But my gosh, if we took our day and said, okay, am I doing this? Is that taking me and more important, my team to the goal of what we're trying to do? I love this intentionality. How intentional am I in a meeting? That I heard something just yesterday that had to do with when you're coaching, and which is I think what sales leaders are doing, right? They're coaching their team. If you're thinking while you're coaching, you're making a mistake. Because if I'm thinking while I'm coaching, I'm not listening. I'm thinking about where I'm headed. I'm thinking about what's going on. And the point they were making was that I'm not present. I'm not present. And when you said intentionality, man, that spoke to me. How present am I? How intentional am I at that moment?
We've all been blessed for the most part with 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're supposed to listen 2 times as much than we're supposed to talk. And a lot of times people know this, but knowing isn't doing. So it's that intentionality of saying, I'm going to ask the question and not only be present, but I'm going to be actively listening to what they say, how they say it, and then I'll process it. And then when they stop, I'm still going to be quiet. Instead of trying to jump right in, they still might have more thoughts.
Yeah, I love that, because what you're telling me then is I have to question my value system. All right. In other words, as leaders, I know for me personally, when the first time I got into a leadership role, I'm a leader now. I'm supposed to have all the answers. So when something comes up, I had to be the one. So my value became what I said. And what you're telling me is we have to shift our value is from what I said. My value increases based upon what I hear.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And then it increases based on the action you take as a result. I believe that sales is about matchmaker. And some leaders don't view their reps, their people, as their customers. They are. And you should be matching their needs, their wants, their desires, their challenges, their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations with what you can provide them with. Hey, Mike, when I was a sales leader, I had 3 goals. It was very simple. Number 1, let's hit our target. That's why we're in sales. Let's hit the number. Number 2, let's learn and grow. Number 3, let's have fun. If we're doing 1 and 2 at a high level, we're having a ton of fun. And I also had all my reps write their own business plan. Well, Larry, do you have a template? No, not for your business plan. This is your business plan. What I can tell you is I want you to think about what are your goals, short-term and long-term, professionally and personally. How do you get there? Who are the people that can help you? What can I do to serve you in this position? That now gets people thinking like an entrepreneur, like an owner. I'm not just a number in the cog. I'm actually someone that Larry's investing in to help me get to what my goals are.
Yeah. So
It's a whole different perspective.
Yeah, what you're telling me is you really take the role from a sales leader is to help people own their job as opposed to just do their job. Here's a question that I want us to kind of analyze a little bit. What stops a sales performer, mediocre or high end, either one? What stops them from owning their role and just doing their role based upon what you're talking about?
Well, it's there's several factors, but a lot of times, and I don't want to get into the whole educational debate, but our education system teaches us that we're supposed to fit in a box. You're supposed to do things this proper way, sit in class up and listen and then regurgitate. Well, that's not how all humans are. We're creative beings. So what stops us is the expectation and the way that it's always been done. And really, it's the person in the mirror from my perspective. The folks that I work with, their biggest enemy is that person who's looking right back at them in the mirror, whether it's their mind telling them a story that's not completely accurate, but they believe it. And essentially, whatever you believe, that's your reality. But does that mean it's the real reality?
Yeah, it's what you're saying. Here's where you're pushing my mind is as a sales, because look, I'm from South Louisiana, right? And it's the land of ils sont partis, it's like, let's have a good time. And so when you look at leading sales organization, it's all about the company party, the company picnic. It's the affirmation of making sure somebody's recognized. A lot of salespeople like recognition. What I'm hearing you say, though, is that while that's important, there's another element that goes with it. And what I wrote down here was the word feedback. It has to do with holding the mirror back up to them so that they can see that you're as much interested in their development as you are in the dollars they're going to put on the table.
Big time. And it's no one cares how much you know. And this isn't my quote, but there's a quote that says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah. Where have you seen leaders that you talk to where they've dropped the ball on showing the people that report to them that they care? What is there common mistakes or something you observed? Man, I can't believe they do this.
Yeah, I can't believe that they don't ask questions of their people. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what did you do this weekend? Hey, Mike, what do you got going on for Thanksgiving? Hey, Mike, if you don't mind, walk me through your journey since graduation. It's just asking they're simple questions, but we don't have time for it. I got to go through the pipeline review. I got to go through my spreadsheets. And that's a huge mistake that a lot of leaders, sales leaders, and leaders in general,
Yeah.
they don't get to know their people. So for all my new reps, I do a get to know your colleagues challenge. Essentially, I want them to go around the organization cross-functionally. I want you to meet people outside of the sales org, get to know them, and them get to know you as well. Now we've got a relationship. Think about it, Mike. We're both in the same industry. I can't refer you if I don't know that you're a good person and I don't trust and believe that you're going to take care of my clients or someone that I refer you to, and vice versa. Well, how do we build that? It doesn't just happen overnight. It builds over time as we
Mm-hmm.
talk more. And I learn more about Crystal Lee and Penny Lynn, your dogs. Who let the dogs out?
Yeah.
As you learn about my
Hey, hang
family.
on a second. I got to correct you here. I refer to them as my daughters because they got more job security than I do. So
I stand corrected. But that comes over time from asking questions, from listening, and actually from caring. There's some leaders out there that don't care about their people. They view their people as human resources. No, you're a person. You've got goals, you've got dreams, you've got a life outside of these four walls, whether it's in person or remotely. I better find out about that, or else you're probably going to leave. I know that you talk about engagement, you talk about retaining our best people. People don't leave organizations generally, they leave bad leaders. And there's a leader out there that's listening. I'm going to ask you the question of how well do you know your people outside of the professional realm? And if you can't say, I know them well and they know me well, they know my vulnerabilities, my strengths, my weaknesses, my goals, my objectives, my vision, then you might be in some trouble.
mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's because of the space I spend a lot of time is on emotional intelligence. And one of the definitions, my two favorite definitions of emotional intelligence, one is do you react or do you respond effectively? Well, I sat on that for the longest time until recently I came across a second one. And the second one is, can I see situations or life or whatever you want to call it through somebody else's eyes? And so what happens is, and to me, that's powerful because that helps me move from reaction to respond effectively. When I can look at little Larry Long Jr. and your background and your stumbles and your successes and the weight that you're carrying today with whatever's going on, and my job as a leader is to hear. And then second of all is to figure out how do I remove obstacles, whatever they might be, and to be able to drive them. Thanks for joining us today on Lighting the Path, Strategies for Tomorrow's Leaders. If anything in this podcast speaks to you, if I've challenged you, or if you want to spend time digging into this subject a little deeper, or if you disagree with me, reach out. My contact information is on our website, lightingthepath.net, or email me at mike@mikelejeune.com. Also, look for me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect our networks. Keep lighting the path for those who choose to follow you. It's more than a responsibility. It's an honor.